Hello. We'll go ahead and get started now. I can see that some folks are still joining, but thank you to everyone who chimed in and let us know that you could hear us. That already made us excited about this conversation. Everybody is so friendly and cheerful, and we've got a great group on the phone. There's a little over 90 folks in the conversation right now, and this is just really exciting. Welcome to this informational webinar to walk you through the OMG Books opportunity. We're glad so many of you could join us today. We will be recording this webinar, so for those of you who were unable to, well, you all are able to join. Anyone who was unable to join will still be able to access this information. We'll post it online on the OMG Books application page, so you can share it with colleagues or others who might be interested. We are thrilled to be able to share this opportunity with you. My name is Candace Rudofsky. I'm the Senior Director of Partner Development here at First Book.
And my name is Katie Dunleavy. I'm also on the Partner Development team here at First Book.
This opportunity that we're discussing with you today is available to organizations and First Book members in 33 select states. We're hoping that this process not only helps to provide needed resource for your communities, but also expands your understanding of how First Book can further support your organizational goals. Sorry, there we go, a little technical difficulty, not too bad. So today we're really gonna kind of go through an overview of First Book. I know some folks may be new to First Book or you haven't checked in with us in a while, and we'll give you a very brief overview of First Book as the organization as it pertains really to the OMG Book Awards opportunity, and then kind of share some other added color as a follow-up after this webinar, because there's so much more that we all can do together. But for the next hour, we'll walk through a First Book overview, introduce you to the OMG Books opportunity and some step-by-step examples for applying. If there are questions as we go through today, please feel free to type those in the comments section, and we'll try to answer those as we go along where appropriate, or at the end if there's time. And if we run out of time, then we will aggregate questions and answers, and we'll post those along with the link to the recorded webinar. If there are questions following this webinar that are related to the OMG Books opportunity, you can submit those at omgbooks@firstbook.org through January 22nd, and we will post those answers as well by January 29th.
So this is Katie. We're going to start out with a little bit of a high-level overview of First Book as an organization. We know that many of you probably know of us, have worked with us already, but we're really excited to welcome new partners and new people into the fold through this fantastic initiative. So we're going to spend a couple minutes giving an overview of who we are and what we do and how we get our resources out generally. And then, as Candace said, we will dive into the specifics around the OMG Books Awards after that. So First Book as an organization was founded 25 years ago by our current CEO, Kyle Zimmer, really as a way to address the fact that so many kids, as we know, grow up without access to books in their homes and communities. As an organization, we really believe that education is the surest path out of poverty, but we know that access to quality education is not equal, and that there's a massive disparity between access to resources that are available in low-income communities versus communities of means. So really because of this, First Book was founded, and still today is an organization really focused on educational equity. Our mission is to provide equal access to quality education by making books and other educational resources available to classrooms, schools, programs, and providers serving kids in need across the country from birth to age 18, and really to try to remove the barriers to quality education for kids. So as a national organization, our reach and our impact are vast and are something that we're incredibly proud of. This slide shows a little bit of the headlines from our past 25 years that we're the most excited about and proud of. But what we're really focused on is the challenges that some of these headlines underscore. For example, you can see that right now, First Book serves 1 out of every 4 classroom and programs working with kids in need. But what that means to us is that there are still 3 out of 4 of those classrooms that we haven't yet reached. And as you all know, as the percentage of kids attending public schools across the country and growing up in low-income families continues to increase rather than decrease, the importance of both literacy and even more so the ability to access the resources that are needed has become such a mainstream problem. To us, in order to continue fulfilling our mission, it is absolutely critical that we continue increasing our reach and impact, both in terms of number of educators working with kids in need that we are reaching, in terms of the types of programs and sectors that we're able to serve, and the amount of resources that we are able to get out the door. We do this by building partnerships to harness the collective power of our network. So this slide provides just a snapshot of some of the national partners that First Book works with and supports. We work with partners in a multitude of different ways, everything from working together as thought partners to helping our partners and their networks access more resources at lower costs, to we often take on the logistics for large-scale resource needs and distributions for our partners, to holding hands, to often dream big with our partners and come up with new initiatives that can really help move the needle in terms of access to resources for kids in need. It's really important to us as an organization that we partner with anyone and everyone who is committed to really having an impact and moving the needle on educational equity across the country. And so that is part of the reason why we're so excited to have you all on the phone and to talk to you guys today. So a little bit more about our member network. Our network is made up of over 400,000 educators, and when we say educators, we mean it both in the formal and informal sense, serving children in need. We serve a really wide range of programs and providers to ensure that we're reaching as many children across the country as possible. This includes growing our reach, not just across the sectors and areas that might come to mind immediately, which is, schools and classrooms and teachers, but also across different sectors in the education space and connected to the education space to ensure that we're really identifying and regularly keeping our ear to the ground in terms of what resources are most needed in all of these different sorts of settings across the country on a day-to-day basis. Our network really gives us the power of our organization. We are a social enterprise, and the power of our reach really comes from the voices of our educators in our network. The more educators that we're able to serve, the more that we can aggregate the voices of those individuals and use their strengths to drive down the prices in the market, both in terms of books and other educational resources. So we think of our network as kind of the rocket fuel that lets us do our work. So in order to get connected to all of First Book's resources, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a moment, educators and providers sign up through an online registration process. And actually, if you are not yet registered with First Book, you'll see the registration link right there beneath the picture. The registration process is free, so anybody serving kids in need can sign up with First Book and become one of our members. It's a free registration process online that takes about 10 minutes. It asks questions about the number of kids you serve, the languages that are spoken by the kids you serve, the kinds of programs that you're in, just basic demographic questions. And we ask everybody who signs up with us to self-verify their eligibility to receive our resources through indicators that most of you will be familiar with. So WIC clinic eligibility, Title I school eligibility, census poverty data, free and reduced lunch data, etc. And then once members are signed up with us, we have two main engines for getting books and resources to the 400,000 strong members of our network across the country. So the first engine is the First Book Marketplace, which is our nonprofit e-commerce site that was built about 10 years ago in direct response to First Book member feedback. The Marketplace is a fantastic online tool that houses a wide range of brand new resources, including, you'll see some photos on this slide of clothing, basic needs resources, hygiene items, school supplies. It's not just books, but also incredibly high quality content in terms of books for kids aged 0 to 18. The average cost of a paperback on the Marketplace is about $3, and that includes shipping. So on average, First Book resources on the Marketplace are about 60% below what you would find them at retail. The second engine that we work with is called the First Book National Book Bank. And if you look on this slide down here, the banner of the Marketplace right here, this is where you find the First Book National Book Bank on the Marketplace. The book bank is the only nationwide clearinghouse for excess publisher inventory. So we work with the 90 of the biggest publishing imprints across the United States, and we take their excess inventory that they have, they donate it to us, and we in turn are able to offer it to our members on an ongoing basis through the First Book Marketplace site. We get out between 9 and 12 million books annually through the First Book National Book Bank. And because the books are donated, they're all free for our members. Members just pay the shipping and handling costs, which is generally around 75 cents per book. So if you go to explore the Marketplace and the book bank, you'll find that book bank books come in carton quantity, and so they're really great for infusing communities with a high quantity of books. They're great for sending books home with kids, for family engagement incentives, and that kind of thing. The book bank is really a fantastic tool for that, whereas the Marketplace is really your best avenue for finding the highest quality, specifically curated content directly based on the feedback and the needs of our members. And then really quickly, before we get to the OMG Books Awards part of the presentation, we wanted to share a little bit of a deeper dive with you about one of our most favorite initiatives here at First Book. So the Stories for All project is a trademark initiative that was launched by First Book several years ago because we are extremely committed to ensuring that educators and kids have access to relevant and current titles that serve as both windows and mirrors for children, right? So mirrors as books that allow kids to see themselves and their own experiences in the books that they read, and windows into other people's lives and the experiences of others. So the Stories for All project is a section of our Marketplace, and it has really wonderful, high quality, diverse titles and resources, as well as things like downloadable free resource guides for educators and parents that support them in elevating really important messages that we're hearing from our network every day are coming up in their classrooms and programs. So that is First Book at a glance. If you have questions, we can answer them as we go or answer them at the end, so feel free to type them in and we'll start talking about OMG books now.
So what brings us here together is a rare and exciting opportunity, this OMG Book Awards. Last week, as you all know, First Book launched the OMG Book Awards, offering more great books to spark innovation. a program that will unlock more than $4.7 million in funding to distribute approximately 1.5 million brand new books to programs and children living in low-income communities. We estimate the total value of the books distributed through this initiative will be more than $12 million, and we are beyond thrilled to be in conversation with you and others who care as deeply as we do about reducing barriers to education. First Book is approaching this opportunity as a scaling moment for all of us, really. For you, these awards can provide essential catalysts in the form of books that will help further your work and goals supporting children, families, and educators. For First Book, this funding is equally important catalyst to boost the rapid scaling of our goals, reaching those 1.3 million US classrooms and programs serving kids in need, expanding our deep and effective network of partner organizations and programs whose mission aligns with ours, and working together to ensure that children in need have access to the tools they need and the education they deserve to succeed and thrive in school and life. So OMG Books Initiative at a glance, a high-level overview. These are some of the basics, and we'll do a deeper dive as we go along. There's $4.7 million in book credits that will allow nearly 1.5 million free books and ebooks to reach children and youth in need. We are rolling this initiative out over 3 cycles throughout 2019 to ensure that First Book can support and maximize the impact of OMG Book awardees, as well as the connections with OMG Books non-awarded applicants. Application cycles are listed in Appendix A of the RFP. If you have not yet seen or found the RFP, if you go to firstbook.org/OMGBooksInfo, you'll find the link there, and that will provide even more detail on particulars about this initiative and the proposal requirements. So while $4.7 million in book credits is exciting, we know that we will not be able to award all deserving proposals, and we'll say more about this later in conversation, but we hope to really leverage this moment as an opportunity to connect more deeply with organizations who we already partner with, and to forge some new relationships that will help us scale and increase impact together even more broadly. The website address where you can find the RFP, some folks are asking to repeat that, is firstbook.org/OMGBooksInfo. Also, if you just go to firstbook.org, you'll see it all over our homepage right now, so you'll find it pretty easily. So the third point that we just want to lift up here in this initiative overview is that applying organizations must be eligible and registered with First Book. Anyone providing a proposal must be registered through the process that Katie just described. We encourage every individual and an eligible organization to sign up so that as many folks as possible are notified when opportunities arise. In other words, you don't just have to have one point of contact in a school or a program. We want everyone in that school or program to join so that they can add their voice to the network. Additionally, specific to the OMG Books initiative, we'll be sharing some microfunding with registered members of the First Book Network in each of the OMG Books award states. So folks may get an email from us in the near future offering $25 in free books on the marketplace, or $50 or $100 as funding allows in each of those states, which is another great reason to start encouraging folks to register as soon as possible. This opportunity, or this initiative, provides an opportunity for national organizations and multi-state organizations to apply via one cohesive proposal. We'll cover multi-state and national proposals during the timeline review at the end of this webinar, so we'll just kind of put a pin in that for now, but we will talk more about it soon. To provide some perspective, First Book is anticipating awarding anywhere from 1 to 3 proposals per state. And we want to support all programs supporting kids in need, awarded, non-awarded, and beyond. So we hope that regardless where you land in this process, that this will be a launch pad for continuing conversations. So as a deeper dive into the OMG Books Initiative goals, we'll kind of walk through really what we're hoping to see in proposals that come through as part of this initiative. First key goal is to register and activate thousands of educators and providers working in under-resourced communities. Through this initiative, First Book aims to expand its reach to more educators working in the lives of children in need by registering and activating new members in the First Book network. This ensures that more educators and providers are connected with ongoing access to low-cost and free resources, even outside of this opportunity, and that they get to add their voice to the movement well beyond this initiative. Second big initiative goal is to get 1.5 million relevant, high-quality, brand-new books and ebooks into the hands of kids in need. We know that tangible books and ebooks are valuable, essential resources for creating equitable education experiences for all children. As we anticipate distributing at least 1.5 million free books and ebooks as a result of this initiative, we'll be asking for feedback on how these resources make a difference in the lives of educators, children, families. Our collective power to share inspiring and impactful stories is a way for all of us to continue spreading best practice, sharing innovative approaches, and to continue generating support for these types of opportunities. The third big goal of the OMG Books Initiative is to create a multiplier effect by engaging stakeholders to join the effort and amplify the impact. We know that you engage with multiple stakeholder groups, educators, families, community supporters, boards of directors, funders, the list goes on. The most successful OMG Books proposals will include a description of how multiple stakeholder groups will be engaged.
And to chime in on a question we're getting about whether the 1 to 3 awards that will be awarded in each state are more likely to go to big statewide organizations or large school districts, I think we are super open to any and all applications that highlight these 3 goals. So hopefully that answers your question.
And the quality of the proposal is paramount to the size in and of itself. Thank you for the question. I'm sure many folks were thinking that. So let's dive a little more deeply into each of these goals. Register and activate. We know, you know, educators and providers are on the front lines every day, and the First Book Network provides a remarkable resource, not only for access to books and supplies for programs, but also an opportunity to provide valuable input and feedback as to what types of supports and tools are needed to give children every opportunity for success. First Book regularly collects and analyzes feedback and data through our research and insights arm of our work. And that insight informs the resource development and content curation that we are making available through the marketplace so that we're constantly offering the most relevant resources to our members. We ask that every OMG Books proposal include a plan to register more members and expand this network to bring even more programs serving children in need into the conversation to further diversity and broaden our collective voice. Goal number 2, books to kids. We're focused on how OMG Book awardees would use gift credits or special orders, and we'll say more about that soon, to get high quality books and or ebooks to underserved and under-resourced communities. We're constantly inspired by the creative ways that books are distributed. We know that many programs we work with use books from First Book as take-home books or to support curriculum or They're aligning books and summer meals programs, or putting books on buses and in waiting rooms or laundry facilities. There are lending libraries for families. And many of our books are just added to the bookshelves in programs to enrich access to diverse content for kids. We know that you know what your kids and families need, and we are excited to hear through these proposals and conversations what creative ways or what levers these books will help you pull to create impact for the kids and families that you reach. As a final part of a final report that First Book will create following the OMG Books initiative, we want to highlight a variety of meaningful ways that awardees use their books to reach kids who need them most. The online application form will ask for a detailed description of how many books you plan to distribute and how they'll be used to help lower educational barriers. And the third goal, engaging stakeholders. The strongest proposals will include a plan for engaging multiple stakeholder groups. OMG Books presents a unique opportunity for First Book and our partners, and we strongly believe that this opportunity provides a chance to think big together beyond this proposal to further and strengthen our aligned work and forge lasting partnerships beyond these initial awards. By engaging multiple stakeholders through this initiative, First Book and applying organizations can maximize this moment to continue expanding the reach of our mission, create collective impact of our shared goals and vision. For you, key stakeholders may include families. Your initiative would aim to use book credits to stimulate family engagement, perhaps. You may want to strengthen collaboration with community partners or elevate the priorities of elected officials or district and state leadership. We really want this opportunity to facilitate impact beyond just the book credits alone. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a really important part of this third goal here is that the OMG Books Awards is very much outside of the way that First Book usually works. So the most successful applications, as Candace stated, will think about how you all would work with First Book and partner with First Book to continue whatever program you decide to create through your application beyond these specific credits, since this is kind of a one amazing opportunity, but is not normally the way we work. We are really, really excited to hear how you guys would leverage stakeholders and community groups and all your networks and connections to continue making an impact with these resources and these credits, but then beyond that as well. And we are really excited to partner with everybody who applies for this RFP, even beyond this specific award cycle.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about engaging stakeholders is, where possible, OMG Books seeks to help you stimulate supplemental funding that will act as a multiplier for the funding in book credits that the OMG Book Awards will provide. We know that you have relationships and wish list relationships with funders in your state or community, and we hope that this opportunity is one that you can bring into those conversations as additional leverage for achieving your goals, for opening new doors and expanding ongoing funder relationships. Additionally, First Book is really interested in continuing to pursue relationships with organizations that are not awarded through this initiative. In other words, your proposals will help us approach funders in your state to further define the need and the unmet resource need in your state, in addition to everything that we're able to do together and that you're doing on a daily basis. In addition, when we are thinking about stakeholders and the possibility for our partnerships, we collaborate with a variety of organizations where, in addition to distributing resources together, our partnership might include event participation, media opportunities, resource creation, generally collaborating on thought leadership or special projects and initiatives. So we encourage you to consider the multitude of possibilities for engaging stakeholders as you address the goals in your proposal and ongoing partnership possibilities with First Book. Just checking questions to make sure that I'm seeing and hearing and incorporating. So the slide graphic really is just meant as a high level example of the types of initiatives that might be created. This is in no way meant to be exhaustive or exactly what everyone should do, but in terms of thinking about how you might increase collective impact, it could be by pulling together a coalition of early childhood providers and health clinics and child care centers so that you're maximizing your touch points with the children in your community. Or you might approach your superintendent and advocate for adding Title I funding to the award amount you're requesting from OMG books to double the number of books that you could make available in your school. And so these examples are just kind of Kickstarter examples to kind of help you start thinking, kind of get the creative juices flowing on what could you do to engage stakeholders. And you know, the reason we list this variety of stakeholders is because we really want this to be meaningful for you. So we're not saying that it should be one group or another group, but if there are folks that you've been hoping to forge stronger connections with, or you know, start more productive conversations with, and this moment in time allows you to take steps forward in that space, we would love for this to be something that helps you grow and increase your impact as well. So now that we've covered kind of the deeper dive into the 3 goals, and you kind of know where our head's at in terms of what we're really going to be focused on as we're reviewing the proposals, and I'll talk about the review process a little bit too. Let's talk about the RFP itself and the proposal requirements. I mentioned that this initiative is rolling out in 3 cycles. Cycle 1, that was just launched last week, includes 9 states: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Illinois, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Utah. They are all in dark blue there on your screen, and you can see the funding amounts for book credits indicated or allocated for each state. So when we look at those ranges, looking at Alabama, for example, $15,000 to $82,000. $82,000 is the maximum we have to award in book credits in Alabama, and we're inviting organizations to apply for a range that is appropriate for your programming goals, anywhere from $15,000 to $82,000. So that minimum number is the minimum request that we'd like to see in proposals, and the maximum number is the maximum for the entire state. Organizations proposing multi-state initiative, we know that many of you are with national organizations, and you may be thinking about how to create sort of an umbrella initiative or tie this opportunity to multiple states where you have initiatives happening or you want to launch something. We sent this notification out to many national organizations at the launch, but the open application period for multi-state proposals will be in cycle 2. That opens April 8th and closes May 15th. And we did that to give you a little bit of extra runway, as we know it might take a little bit more coordination if you're pulling together a multi-state effort. Multi-state proposals can include any number or combination of the states across all 3 cycles. And to give you, I should say also, we can't guarantee any specific level of award per proposal, but through a multi-round review process, proposals will be evaluated for overall program quality, alignment with the OMG books goals, and the landscape of other proposals from each state, which is to say, as an example, it could be possible for a proposal requesting $10,000 in Idaho, $10,000 in North Dakota, and $10,000 in Arizona, those are actually terrible examples because they don't even meet the minimums. We'll say $20,000 in each of those states, could receive $20,000 in Idaho, $10,000 in North Dakota, and $8,000 in Arizona. I couldn't make that any more confusing if I tried, since none of my numbers even match. But I think what I'm trying to say is that we invite you to, and you'll be asked online, to differentiate the request of book credit funding per state, because these do need to stay, you know, these have borders around them. They've got to stay in each state. And we'll do our best to distribute funding equitably and at a scale that will help awardees execute the program they've proposed. But at this moment in time, we are not guaranteeing that every proposal awarded will be awarded at the full requested amount.
And to answer a question that just came in, the upper range of the funding that you see here indicated for each state is the total amount of funding available for awards in each state, not the total amount of funding for each and every award, if that makes sense. Candace, we're also getting a question about how the 33 states were determined.
That's a great question. So this funding was made available, as quick background, you guys might remember several years ago when there was a little snafu with publishers and the book industry kind of getting together and deciding on their own pricing for ebooks. And as that sort of came into public awareness, there was an antitrust moment. And if you all are familiar with antitrust cases, the way that works is an award in such a case would go to those who were deemed quote unquote injured by whatever the offending action was. And so, you know, many of us may have seen that we, you know, got a credit on our Amazon account or got a credit on our Barnes & Noble account as part of this antitrust distribution compensation. With a pot this big on the overall national award, it didn't all get spent. And so it went back to the attorneys general to decide where in the book world these dollars could be spent for the greater good. And First Book was lucky enough to be selected. So while the antitrust case had nothing to do with First Book, we were selected as an organization who could help bring these dollars into the world for good. And those 33 states were selected based on that case. That's about the depth I know, but hopefully that will help you guys understand this is not First Book intentionally leaving out states that we currently work in, and we don't have flexibility because these terms were you know, kind of dictated outside of our locus of control, but that's how these states were selected.
So we're still getting some questions on the ranges. So again, to clarify, these are the ranges for which we would like to see applications in each state. So for example, in Alabama, it might mean that you are applying for $23,000 based on your specific program, the specific number of kids and educators you're trying to serve, and exactly the impact that you're trying to have through the program you put together. It doesn't have to be exactly the low range, and it doesn't have to meet exactly the high range. It can be any number within the range in each state.
And I see a question about, you know, if you're a small school and you don't need $15,000, how do you apply for this opportunity? A big takeaway message that we want to reinforce loud and clear is that we want this to be a big moment for anyone awarded through this proposal, and we're really encouraging a collective impact model if you're not large enough on your own, but something that's really going to make a big splash and help you really move the needle in a way that you couldn't, as you note, if you're a small school in Colorado and you just need $250 worth of books. What could you do with $15,000 in books, and who else should be involved in that? So we're encouraging you, if that seems like a big number in your current way of thinking, to dream big and think about who else should be involved in making this a really impactful moment for kids and families across Colorado and other states. So I'm going to move on from here just to make sure we have time to get through all of the slides, and I have no doubt that other questions will continue to arise because this is something that I know everyone wants to make sure they're really, really clear on. The open questions period runs through January 22nd, and we will answer all questions in writing and make sure that they're posted on the online application site by the 29th of January. So if we don't have time to talk through questions that you're sending and posting right now, we will pay attention to them, and they will get answered even if we don't have time in this particular conversation. And something that multiple people have brought up, and I think worth putting a fine point on, is yes, sadly, if you are not in one of the 33 states that was designated for awards through this initiative, you are not qualified to apply for this opportunity in particular. We still want to talk to you. We still want to think about what we can do together, and maybe there are other ways that we can find resources to work together. But through this funding and book credit stream, it's just these 33 states that are indicated in the RFP.
And the only thing I would add to that is that for national organizations or organizations applying for a multi-state award, you don't have to physically be located, or your national office does not have to physically be located in one of these 33 states. You just have to be doing work in one of the 33 states, or for a multi-state proposal in multiple of these specific 33 states.
But the books do need to go just to those states.
Yes.
So down to the nuts and bolts. How does an organization apply? We mentioned before that you must be registered with First Book. Essentially, you'll identify a program that aligns with OMG Books' goals. It may be something that you've been dreaming of, that you wish you could get off the ground, and this will make possible. It may be something that these awards would help you expand. It could just be enriching a program that you already have going on, but whatever that is, that will be the crux of your program description. Where possible, we would love for you to secure multiplier funding to help augment your program impact. As you're thinking about how to calculate that book budget, we recommend that you go to the First Book Marketplace, fbmarketplace.org, and kind of cruise around and take a look at the average cost of books that you see there. If you're looking for primarily board books, or if you know you want STEM books, or if you feel really strongly about hardcover books, get a sense there about how pricing is set on the marketplace, and then you can kind of do your math from there. These will be estimates. Obviously, we're not asking you to name particular titles or particular quantities of which title, but just to give you a rough idea of how many books you think you could distribute with the book budget you propose, that might be the right approach. And then Cycle 1 proposals are due February 15th. Proposals are collected and created online through an online portal that was created. The web address is firstbook.org/apply, and it is specifically an OMG Books Initiative platform, so you'll see lots of this information repeated and linked. You can also, you have the option on the online proposal portal to upload supporting documentation. Examples might be, impact reports or letters of support from stakeholders in your initiative, videos, anything that you think would help kind of provide color and help us see who you are as an organization and how this initiative will provide rocket fuel to the work that you're doing with children and families. With respect to the budget, one additional detail that we want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into, and in terms of thinking about timelines and structure for your program, we want to kind of look at the difference between gift credits, special orders, and a combination, which we outline in the RFP, but thought it was worth spending a few minutes here just to kind of get into the weeds on this particular detail. So as we mentioned, all awards will be awarded as book credits, and they can be spent in a couple of different ways. Gift credits are basically virtual gift cards that are deposited into an educator's First Book account, and they can be used for book or ebook purchases on the First Book Marketplace. Educators just log on and self-select, and then they'll use that gift credit number as they check out, like you would a promotional code or a gift certificate or gift card anywhere on an e-commerce site. Special orders involve curating title lists and determining quantities per title, ordering directly from publishers, and shipping to designated sites. So that's a little bit of a higher touch process and a longer process. That is outlined in the RFP as well and worth taking a look at. Or you may decide that you want to implement a plan that provides for both options. So it might be that you've determined that each of your 100 program sites should have the same 10 titles on their bookshelves, and you want those program leaders, teachers, home visitors, et cetera, who will be implementing the programming to have some autonomy over supplemental titles that will resonate most strongly with their constituents, you know, whether that's bilingual titles or particular themes. So for that program structure, you might decide to work with First Book to create a special order for those core 10 titles and distribute them, ship them directly to your 100 sites, and provide individual gift credits to each of the educators or program leaders so that you've got the combination of two. Special order prices are, I think, you know, the same method that you use for thinking about your book budget applies to all of these. So First Book discounts that we have through our publisher agreements are applied uniformly across any of these formats. Something really important to note, especially if you're considering special orders, is that all awards must be spent within 6 months. It could take up to 2 weeks to curate a special order and provide a quote. Shipping times and handling times in the warehouse are a consideration. Workflow in the workhouse is a consideration. So if you're thinking that a special order is part of your initiative and we're kind of backing into that 6-month project timeline, we'll want to get moving on that pretty quickly so that we can get books into the hands of kids and educators and have a story to tell at the end of that 6 months.
We're also getting a question about shipping charges, and just as a general point of information, all orders through the First Book Marketplace that are over $25 include free shipping. So all of the shipping is covered.
So every OMG Books awardee will be asked to, or required to, submit a brief project report within 8 months of award announcement. So funds are spent within 6 months, and within 2 months, you would share with us your project report. We'll provide templates and support documents for that, but that will be something that will be asked of all awardees, and that will be part of an MOU that we sign for any awardees. We really encourage you to gather and share impact stories and outcomes from our collaboration as robustly as possible. We'll ask that you complete a feedback survey and brief report, and we might check in with you depending on the structure of your project and see if we can also send a brief survey to the educators in your network. So, you know, if there's a wide swath of folks who receive these books, we'll want to hear from them about the responses that they saw or heard from the kids and the difference it made in their programs. You know, we really believe strongly that OMG Books provides an important opportunity to elevate the insights and learnings generated through this initiative to the entire sector so that we may collectively work smarter for children and families we serve. So following this initiative, First Book will, after collecting all of the wonderful reports from awardees, produce an overall impact report to share with the field. We want to highlight best practices, lessons learned, key findings tied to infusions of really high quality relevant books in communities of high need. It's very important that this opportunity provide additional value to the entire social sector focused on educational equity, and we encourage you to detail your plans for sharing impact or outcomes as robustly as possible as part of the online proposal process. Lastly, we'll just say that, you know, we've mentioned multiple times, but we want to hold hands with thought partners and organizations and districts and associations who are working towards a shared goal of serving children in need and the adults who support them. This is an inspiring one-time opportunity to help us both forge new relationships as well as strengthen and expand existing ones. But as we've said, we really want to reach all classrooms and programs that serve low-income or children from low-income families, and we're only about a third of the way there. That's why our planning and long-term strategic thinking needs to come together beyond this opportunity to increase our collective impact and creatively build programs and offerings that will move the dial on access and educational equity for all children is really top of mind for us right now, and we hope that you'll kind of share in that thinking as well as you're thinking about plans for ongoing partnership with First Book. When we think about some of the types of partnerships that we've generated and that have blossomed over the years, you know, kind of outside of just a straight books delivery model, we think about work with state governments to resource school districts and learn from educators through surveys and focus groups. As I mentioned, we have, you know, a research and insights arm of our work that helps us get even closer to understanding the need and then sharing it back into the social sector to inform resources and supports for everyone caring for kids and families in need. We work with nonprofit associations who have resource funding or who are looking to partner to secure funding to get books and resources targeted to communities in need and help them build after-school libraries, home libraries, classroom libraries. And you may know, and Katie pointed out, that we provide much more than just books. So, you know, we work with school districts and state level Department of Education to build care closets that supply children in Title I schools with hygiene products and underwear and socks and t-shirts and winter coats and things just to help them meet their basic needs and lower those barriers to education so that they can be prepared to learn and succeed. We also do quite a bit of work with experts to research and design specialized resources like toolkits or reading guides or conversation guides that compress the time it takes for that great research to get into these high need communities so that educators and after school providers and home visitors on the front lines have these really digestible, high quality resources at their fingertips. And we're really proud of that work and would love to think with others about how we might align our work in that space as well. So I say all of this to say that, you know, as you're thinking about ongoing partnership with First Book, maybe it is continued distribution of really high quality relevant books, and we're filling bookshelves across the country, and that's fabulous. And maybe it's more and beyond that as we continue to develop our relationship together. So you will be asked to describe your plan for ongoing partnership with First Book in the online proposal, and we're excited to see about how you're thinking about that. We'll end with important dates to remember. We are here today, January 17th, in the informational webinar. I've mentioned that if you have questions following this or that we didn't get to answer them during this conversation, you can still send them to omgbooks@firstbook.org and, nope, sorry, yes, we will answer them online.
So to confirm, that was omgbooks@firstbook.org.
That's right. And we'll answer those questions and send them out to everyone. Proposals for cycle 1 are due February 15th. We're announcing awards April 1st for cycle 1. And as I mentioned, cycle 2 for multi-state proposals opens April 8th. We'll be scheduling kickoff calls and meetings with awardees for those first 2 weeks in April to get everybody launched and started. We'll want to have a milestone check-in call about halfway through, and then projects will be wrapped up September 30th, and then projects due November 30th.
So we know that there were many more questions that were asked throughout the webinar that we didn't get a chance to answer on the spot. We'll also go through the chat and look at the questions. We've been writing them down as we've been going. So those will also be posted as part of the aggregated answers to questions that we'll be sending out to everyone by January 29th. As a quick last question, we're just curious if you guys could all write in the chat box like you did so helpfully that you could hear us at the beginning of the webinar. Was this helpful? Does it make you more likely to apply, less likely to apply? We're so excited to see all of your applications and cannot wait to meet you guys and talk more about the wonderful, wonderful work that you're doing in your different states and to be working with you going forward.
And I'm just looking at a few questions that I want to put a fine point on. And thank you guys for all jumping in right here and sharing more with us right now. But to be really clear, questions for cycle 1 are due January 22nd. Cycle 2 for single states and multi-states opens April 8th, and there will be an open questions period during that time frame as well. Thank you so much for all of this wonderful feedback. If you also want to share any constructive feedback that might be helpful for future cycles and others who join this conversation, we're totally open to that as well. And thank you so much for spending this part of your afternoon with us. This was really exciting, and we're just thrilled to see how much interest this is generating and can't wait to work with all of you in the future.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.